Have you found yourself struggling to hit your pods, or just can't seem to connect any tow missiles on other air vehicles? In today's guide, I want to teach you all about aiming on the attack helicopter. This guide will cover aiming the rocket pods, tow missiles, and even the gunner seat, to hit extremely precise shots from really long distances with ease. While practice does make perfect, I feel there are a few things I can tell you that will help you maybe see things a lot clearer about aiming, and how projectile-based weapons work. Let's get started first off with the rocket pods. The very first thing you should know about aiming the rocket pods is they will always go to the center of the eye crosshair. This can change slightly depending on your pitch. As you look down, it veers more to the top of the crosshair, and when looking up, it veers more to the bottom of the crosshair. It also depends on your momentum and how you counter it or control it. But for the most part, 90% of the time, the pods go to the center of the crosshair. Staying more level and controlling your momentum will keep it going to the crosshair center all the time. Hitting projectile weapons like these are based more on learning its travel time and reading or predicting a target's movement, similar to the way that you would aim an RPG at a helicopter. You line up and fire in its path. You will generally fire where it's going to be, not where it is. The first thing you need to do is look closely at your target and understand its intention based on how it's moving. Really basic examples here in the attack heli duels. This enemy attack helicopter is not moving left or right, they're simply going up. So understanding this, I aim above him and predict he'll continue to go up, which he does, and I hit both my pods easily. Same thing on this clip. You can see the attack helicopter strafing to the left, so I line up my shot, measure the distance, and fire to his left. He then starts to gain height and move toward the top left, so I read his movement, then aim and fire at the top left of him. Something you'll also notice is I'm pacing my shots. I'm not just spamming all of them. I'm carefully analyzing my opponent's movement and making each shot count. This will preserve your ammo and improve your accuracy in the long run. I basically do the same thing with infantry. I line up my shot, read my opponent's movement, and shoot where they are going. One more thing to keep in mind is the convergence point. The attack helicopter pods fire to the center of the crosshair, but you will notice if you're too close to a target you're trying to precisely hit, your pods will hit either side of them. This is even more noticeable on the larger attack helicopter variant. Generally speaking, you want to keep your combat range at medium to as far as much as possible. This will keep the pods consistently converging and keep your aim more precise, or else you'll have to manually compensate each rocket from either side, which is a pain. So to basically sum up how to hit the pods, these are the main steps. Learn the pod's lead, understand how fast they travel, and adjust the lead accordingly. Read and predict your target. Pay attention to how they are moving or where they are moving to. Pace your shots, pay attention to where they land and make each shot count. Stay at medium to long range so the pods converge perfectly in the center. Stay mostly leveled. The more level you are, the less you need to compensate for aiming the pods at a different pitch or an angle. So now for the aim-guided tow missile. The mistake I see a lot of people do with this is they use the crosshair to guide it. Whenever you're using it, the only thing you should ever be looking at is the missile itself and the target you're trying to hit. The missile's glow itself is your new crosshair. That should be your main aim focal point. Once you have it locked in, you basically want to match the speed of the target you're trying to hit. This can take a bit of practicing getting used to, but effectively what you're trying to do is match the speed of your missile with the speed that your target moves. When you try to move it too fast, it can quickly accelerate and you can easily lose control. So try to initially move it slowly and then increase its pace. You'll find it much easier to hit more shots. Another thing to do is try to stay mostly steady and leveled. It is much easier to control a tow missile the more steady and level your helicopter is. The more momentum you need to fight in the helicopter, the harder it will be to smoothly control it. Try to avoid weird angles or be moving around too fast. Stay leveled and controlled with your momentum. You'll find it so much easier to hit targets. The tow missile has been changed a few times since release. Currently when you fire it, it goes below the crosshair, and you basically need to guide it back up to the center. This can be weird because sometimes when you're trying to tow a tank, the missile falls short in front of them and misses because it's basically starting out far under the crosshair. A good way to remedy this is to aim the helicopter above the target and then adjust the missile down on top of the target. Makes it a lot easier to manage hitting ground targets and centering the tow missile. And lastly, the gunner seat. While most people will say it's a point-and-click adventure, which it technically is, there are a few things to know and keep in mind to make it a lot easier point-and-click adventure. First thing to know is in previous Battlefield titles, the gunner was very much only as good as the pilot allowed them to be. Meaning if the pilot flew around like they were in a washing machine, the gunner did too. And it made it 10 times harder to hit anything. While this is relatively still the case, BF6 has a feature with a gunner zoom function. When you zoom in, it will basically lock on to whatever you zoomed into regardless of how your pilot moves. This is also the case for the transport gunner, making it much easier to hit targets. It may be weird at first and take some getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, you'll realize how ridiculously powerful it can be. Being in the gunner zoom state can make smoothly tracing a target really annoying, because when you try to, it's almost like your mouse is fighting against the lock-on mechanic of the gunner seat. Generally, you can counter this by sort of flicking to the target, or learning to counter the locking mouse feeling with practice. You can also unzoom and rezoom back in on targets far out of your view, so you're not relentlessly dragging your mouse through the gunner seat lock-on mechanic 24/7. But once learnt, this makes gunning so much easier regardless of how your pilot flies. The gunner, like the pods, is also a projectile weapon. It's just not as slow, but you still need to lead your shots. The best way to take full advantage of the gunner seat is to make sure to land direct hits and not rely too much on the splash damage. You can kill a target with 2 shots if they are direct hits. So try to do short bursts and compensate for lead, so you hit more direct hits and get more kills over time. This will be easier or harder depending on how your pilot flies, but the lock-on zoom feature makes it overall a lot easier regardless. Even though you only have 12 shots, the reload is very fast and do ridiculous damage. You just need to land direct hits. Hope the video helped you out with understanding more about the aiming mechanics on the attack helicopter. Keep in mind this will take practice, but having an understanding of how it all works makes it so much easier to practice and improve much faster. Knowing what to focus on or having a clear goal helps a lot. Thanks for watching again as always, and I'll see you in the next one.